I'll be brief. Item 12D, most of you know that I've been concerned that our deputies do not have body cameras. And I've come to that conclusion of the long way around because I wasn't certain necessarily how I felt about the technology originally, whether it was going to capture enough. But the last year I've spent doing body camera audits for other departments and watching literally hundreds of videos. And I've seen what an amazing tool it is, both for the officer and for the citizen, and of course in the critical incidents. Well, and what I found is the citizens themselves, when they know the camera is operating, even if they're under arrest, they generally are on better behavior, that the relationship with the officer is better because everyone knows the incident is being captured. And of course, that is better for the accountability of law enforcement in general. You remember 2 years ago, Philandro Castile was shot during a traffic stop in Falcon Heights. And that entire case and what happened there probably could have been mitigated simply by a body camera. If Officer Yanez had been equipped with a body camera, his description of what he saw in terms of Mr. Castile reaching for something that he perceived was a gun could have either been verified or disputed. And of course, we had a long, lengthy year-and-a-half trial there because we didn't have the best evidence possible. Some of you were on the council here in April of 2017, last year, when 3 of our deputies were called to an incident in which a struggle ensued. One of the suspect grabbed a gun and there was a shooting that resulted in a death. You may not know this, but of course, our deputies did not have body cameras at the time, but they also did not have squad car cameras. And the reason that's important is because squad car cameras capture the audio of what's taking place. They may only have what's in the squad, but they capture the audio because you wear a wireless mic that captures all that. So there was really no objective technological information captured during that struggle, in large part because most of the canine cars in Ramsey County do not carry squad car cameras. So I've been vocal about this since that time, and last year I thought there was an article, I thought, hey, we're headed in that direction, it's going to move quickly, but it hasn't. And of course, I sent a letter that all you received to Jack Serier outlining, can you give us a timeline? Because there has been no timeline. Last year I asked if we were going to put money in the budget to make a plan, and Kevin went and met with Mr. Clark, and they said, well, no immediate plan, not necessary for money. But I want to put this council in the best possible position in the future, because if you have an incident after I'm gone, it will be not dead, just not here. It will be important that we have, at least as a policy body, said we want cameras for our officers, because there will be another critical incident, and we've done a lot of training. Kevin's gone to training, but we can mitigate so much of this critical incident training need by just having the best technology available. So we need to move as quickly as possible to get body cameras implemented. In the letter I got back, most of you got a copy of it, I think, from Steve Frazier, the chief deputy. I was concerned about that letter, deeply concerned, because the letter says this. First of all, there's no budgetary impact, which means we're not being asked to contribute, which in my interpretation means it's probably not going to happen in 2019. That's troublesome to me if there's not a budgetary plan to do something next year. It's one thing to having not done it yet, but to not have a plan for 2019 is extremely troubling. But the email also says we're continuing our beta testing, which is scheduled to be completed in December. Now, since I got this email, I've called numerous deputies, asked them about beta testing. Beta testing is field testing a product. There is no beta testing. this statement is just not true. And if there was beta testing, I would be encouraged. But there's not one camera in usage. There's not one camera that's being tested out there, which tells me that we're in slow-mo, and we don't need to be in slow-mo. We need to make some progress here. So I am going to continue for the next 2 weeks to see if I can push the department to accelerate this plan. And if they're able to give us a figure, I'm planning to bring a proposal in for a financial proposal before we establish our budget in 2 weeks, so that we can make some progress on establishing cameras. And I would welcome their participation here. I asked them to be here tonight. I asked Kevin to have them here and talk about what their timeline is. And Kevin, I don't know if it's a fair summary just to read your text, but basically what you told me is that they're going to decline, they've declined to attend the meeting. Is that fair? I mean, how do you decline to attend a meeting? Send somebody. Send Rich Clark, send the computer guy, send the sheriff, send the chief deputy. But that has compelled me to put this on the agenda today and have a brief discussion and try to get more information in 2 weeks. So, you know, a body. I will tell you, there's a lot of departments around the state, and I've audited some of them that just have 1 or 2 cameras. It's a very reasonable cost. The cameras are rotated through their officers that are in their city. They come in shift, off shift, they download, they put the video there, but at least there's a camera. Ideally, what should happen is every Ramsey County Sheriff's deputy should be assigned a camera. That's the standard in the industry. If you went out to the state fair this year, you saw nearly every officer at the state fair had a body camera on. And they have their personal camera that's assigned to them, they take care of it, and they download it at the end of every shift. There's wireless downloading, there's portable downloading, there are some cameras with disk downloading. But, you know, we can't have another Philandro Castile incident in the contract. See, I'm amazed that the sheriff's office is patrolling Falcon Heights without cameras. And by the way, St. Anthony, who went through this, is implementing them right now. As we speak, the cameras are being distributed to all the officers of the St. Anthony Police Department. So my goal here is to get them to give us a timeline and to have our council at the next meeting take a position that we would prefer to have cameras implemented as soon as possible. It's very simple, that we get some commitment out of the sheriff's office as to when that's going to happen, to protect ourselves from our own critical incident that may occur, and find the numbers of what they anticipate it would cost. And all cities should want that by now. Greg?
Well, when that incident happened with Philandro Castile, I did have a chance to ask one of the officers if he wanted us to support cameras, and it was mainly up to the councils for us to do that. And unfortunately, the camera doesn't protect the officer from injury, but certainly in the cases that we've seen in the last couple of years, they would help to protect the officer's credibility in what he did. My only concern is that these videos aren't released soon enough before the public has formed an opinion of what the officer has done, and that's very hard to correct, just like the incident with our residents here. So it would be nice if, as we move forward, that the local police officials come to some agreement on how quickly they can release those videos. I know that sometimes it's hard to see everything that went on in the video, but the longer they wait, the worse it is for the officer.
Oh, that's an excellent point, and that's why you saw the mayor and the chief in St. Paul made a decision that they're going to have a policy of early release, that the investigation can fundamentally be completed in 3 weeks, and they'll get those videos released, which, by the way, just on the St. Paul thing, you all watched the video of St. Paul that was released to the 2 officers that were faced with a handgun incident, and they told him numerous times to raise his hand or drop the gun and comply. And at some point then, he raised his right hand, not his left, and brought the gun into alignment. alignment with the officers. And I mean, that was clear, and that was a great example of how you can mitigate the public sentiment. I came on years ago when the public accepted the officer's version, but it's not that way any longer. The public expects that we will use the highest degree of technology to show them what happened after the incident. And it might be unfortunate that we don't have as broad a public support as we did in the 70s, but it's our obligation to establish that trust by getting the technology put into place. The Minneapolis case too, where the two officers were chasing the guy and, you know, bad language aside, clearly their lives were at risk when the officer fired the gun as they were pursuing him. So there's a lot of good reasons to get cameras in play as soon as possible. So that's my goal. We'll get it on the agenda. Hopefully they'll be here and we can make some progress